Welcome to today's episode. Today I am going to discuss the second episode of this chapter, and I labeled it Fiona Meets Dr. Afolabi. Here we meet Dr. Afolabi minding his own business, but he has a voice call him from behind. It is a a female voice. He turns only to see a young woman, and the description of the woman as given by the narrator is the woman is wearing a scarlet blouse, a black skirt, and red high heels. As we said in our first video, vivid description, as is always given by the narrator, is meant to help us create a mental image of what the person or the thing described looks like. And then the narrator follows it up with a rhetorical question: who was she? This is because we, the readers, and Dr. Afolabi are meeting this woman for the very first time. So the question, who was she, serves to both create suspense and to also tell us what went on or what goes on in Dr. Afolabi's mind. He doesn't know who this woman is. Anyway, the woman leads him to a corner with two chairs. Once they are seated, she introduces herself as Fiona Mackenzie. She goes on to explain that she was adopted by a Scottish family of missionaries, namely Ian and Elspeth Mackenzie, who were once in Banjul. She was less than a year when the family adopted her. Dr. Afolabi acknowledges that Fiona Mackenzie is as cute as a button and sharp as a needle. That is the simile that is meant to also help us draw a mental image of how this woman looked like. Her eyes were wide and white, like a pair of moons. This is both vivid description and a simile, where her eyes are described, at the same time they are compared to a pair of moons. The narrator goes on to explain to us that her parents are now dead, and so she is on her own. She must survive. We interact with the technology as a theme when we are told that she pulls a gadget out of her bag. Actually, it is a small device. It is a small recording device which she uses to record the interview between her and Dr. Afolabi. She reveals that she knew about Dr. Afolabi from the cover of his book, which is titled Failure of States. From the title, you can judge that it must be a very pessimistic kind of a book. His age emerges from the discussion that ensues between Fiona and himself, that is Dr. Afolabi. Specifically, he is 45 years of age, while Fiona Mackenzie is 35. Fiona goes on to reveal that Africa's heads of states will be having a debate at the Pinnacle Hotel, and she will be covering the story for the Gambian News. So she is a news reporter. She also knows that Dr. Afolabi will be the advisor to the heads of states regarding the topic of the debate. And these heads of state will be debating a document titled Way Omega. And this Way Omega is a creation of 20 Nobel laureates who sat down and tried to come up with a way or a common way to develop Africa. Later on, ministers for planning from the various countries that make up what we call Africa sat down and looked at it and they liked it. So today, 50 heads of African states are going to sit down at the Pinnacle Hotel to adopt what the 20 laureates created as a common way of developing Africa. And Afolabi today turns out to be a very optimistic guy as opposed to the image Fiona has always had of him, especially with regards to Africa in development. And Fiona is surprised that, contrary to what she has always expected Dr. Afolabi to be or to say about Africa in development, today she meets an optimistic guy who believes that Africa is finally going to be changed courtesy of Way Omega. So we see that desire for change. We can put this under themes. Desire for change. And the change we look forward to, as is pointed out by Dr. Afolabi, is moving away from common African problems that include rigged elections, military coups, and foul play. So Dr. Afolabi is very optimistic that finally these issues are going to be brought to an end. But a very sharp irony comes out because most of the presidents attending this debate are beneficiaries of these very problems. They either ascended to power using coups or rigged elections. So Fiona is kind of pessimistic regarding whether this Way Omega is going to bring about the very much longed for results or not, because she believes many of these presidents who are gathered here will be opposed to any strategy meant to bring change because they are the direct beneficiaries of the problems. So she says they will not be walking along Way Omega. Selfishness among these presidents also emerges from this particular observation. And Dr. Afolabi says that defenders of the status quo who are sure of their defeat if change is finally brought about will be very much against this change or this proposed way of bringing about change, while those who are not sure of their gains from these proposed changes will not fight as hard as those who are hopeful that the change will be very beneficial. From this discussion so far, Dr. Afolabi realizes that he had underestimated Fiona's abilities. To himself, he says he had thought that Fiona was a lamb, which is normally vulnerable. But he comes to realize that she is not a lamb, and in fact, she is a lioness that is very dangerous. He goes on to accuse her of mistaking journalism for bad manners. He thinks Fiona is an example of those fire eaters who think journalism and bad manners are one and the same thing. From this reaction, We see him as a guy who is irritable, temperamental, or short-tempered, because he easily loses his temper. For what we believe and what Fiona herself believes is a trivial issue. She only questions his sudden change with regards to what he thinks about Africa and development. Dr. Afolabi is also a proud guy, because when Fiona questions why he had come to the summit, he says he did not just come, but he was invited by presidents. And he in fact emphasizes the word presidents wanted him to be at the summit. So he is so full of himself because of this. He even further says, presidents saw merit in his book, Failure of States, before they thought of inviting him to come over and be part of the summit. In fact, be their advisor at the summit. So he's so proud because he was invited by presidents. He's also rude and arrogant because he refers to Fiona as a third-rate news reporter. But when she questions him, or she puts him to task and wants him to give specific examples in his book, Failure of States, that agrees with the tenets of Way Omega, he is not able to give a specific example. Instead, he runs and tells Fiona to go and read his book and not just the cover of his book. At this point, Fiona is leaving because she has been called to the office by her boss. So that episode ends there, and our discussion for today also ends there. Don't forget to subscribe.